So now we're going to look at creating an assistant to automate the steps in the cash flow forecasting process. Now, forecasting, as we know, is continuous. It's not monthly. And what the agent is going to do for us is update the forecast, explain the deltas, and highlight any risks that we need to consider. Now, the human in this process is going to challenge the assumptions, approve the scenarios, essentially mirroring the role of a treasury analyst. For this use case, you've been asked to update our 13-week cash flow forecast using the latest inputs provided. Think about the steps that you take and which of those can be automated versus those that require some level of judgment, just as we saw in our previous use case. So as I think about some of the steps that can be automated here, we can automate the ingestion of our inputs. So think about our accounts payable aging ledger, our accounts receivable aging ledger, and of course our prior period forecast. Then there's the work to actually physically update the forecast, and then comparing forecasts to identify exceptions and draft associated explanations, all things that we can leverage the agent model to do for us. And of course, there are still components of this process that require human judgment. We need to challenge the assumptions that the model uses. We need to assess if the forecast is actually realistic based upon past expectations and experience. We obviously have to interpret the risk that's provided. A risk may be flagged, but how big of a risk is that? And that may depend on, our own internal policies at our company. Then we're going to be approving and rejecting scenarios if there's kind of, a high, medium, low approach to the way that we manage our forecast. Perhaps the output that we receive is not acceptable for one or more of those scenarios. And then ultimately, the human is going to be making any funding or policy decisions based upon the output of the revised forecast. We are not going to let the model do that for us. So with that, we're going to jump back into ChatGPT and we're going to convert this process into an agent. And again, we're going to do that by providing very explicit instructions on how to execute the 13-week cash flow forecast update.